Hi everybody, John Sarver here, CKiW, iRADIO 76, with a man that needs no introduction in any kind of drag racing circles whatsoever. Bill Bader is here. Bill Bader Jr. is here with us from, I guess, a startup place in Ohio.
Yes, a startup place. Still a baby.
Obviously, Norwalk. You know, and the funny thing is that we saw Bill yesterday, and there was a conference that we had, and it was all about grassroots racing, drag racing and stuff. Everybody knows the history about us as CK is that we do nothing but promote drag racing. We're not promoters. We're on the fan side of town.
Sure.
You know, and when we go into drag strips, we go, how is this working? And the most brilliant thing that you said yesterday was that we are in the entertainment center. Think about it that way, as opposed to there's a lot of tracks that look at it as next to. Next to, next to, next to.
Yep.
And they don't do anything. And you look at the stands, not at Norwalk, but at the places sometimes we go, the stands are a third filled, 1/4 filled. And it's like, what are you doing to bring the folks in?
Sure.
And then yesterday when you started talking about think outside of the box, think entertainment. Don't think, you know, because we had one track that said, we asked him, is it fan-friendly, I mean fan-centric or racing-centric? And he goes, racers all the way. Bill, how does that work with you? Because I know that you were talking more about fans. We get people, and it just elevates itself.
Sure. Well, fans, first of all, racers, there's a reason all those seats sit on either side of the racetrack, and they're there for people to watch performers. And so I view racers as entertainers. We're in the entertainment business. Racers are entertainers. They're there to perform. Presumably, if you asked 1,000 racers, would you rather race in front of 10,000 people or 100 people? Presumably, all 1,000 would say, I'd like to race in front of the larger number. So that being said, everything we do is geared around one basic premise, and that is simply entertain, whether it's with a bracket race or it's a night under fire or anything in between. Now, how do you do that? At a night under fire, it's easy. You spend over $500,000 in talent and fireworks, and you spend another $250,000 in production cost.
Wow.
And 40,000 people come to your track, and you entertain them for an evening, and you hope to God it doesn't rain. So that is intuitively a much easier, that makes sense, right? So from a bracket racing perspective, at one of our Edelbrock Super Series races, we'll have 500 cars in the pit area for a regular Saturday points race. How do we entertain them? Well, we entertain them by creating a family-centric environment where mom is comfortable coming to the track. What does mom want? Mom wants flush bathrooms. Mom wants well-lit parking lots. Mom wants a safe environment where she can bring her kids, right? Many years ago, we installed free electric in our pit area, and it was all based around the premise of if mom and the kids can come along with dad to the race, right? So I guess let's back up. Step one, how do we attract mom, dad, and the kids to our racetrack? As opposed to mom and the kids staying home, dad coming to the race, hanging out with his buddies. That's not good for the family unit. So entertainment isn't necessarily lions and tigers and bears. Entertainment is a good food court. Entertainment is nice bathrooms. Entertainment is nice showers. Entertainment is a kid's playground. Entertainment is getting to know your racers and telling stories about them outside of reaction time, elapsed time, mile an hour, and margin of victory. Get to know the crew members. Recognize mom and the kids on the PA system when dad comes to the starting line. Now, this is all based on the premise that dad is the driver. If mom is the driver, all of this reverses. So, but inclusion, right? Include everybody in the daily activity, as opposed to it being just simply about running cars down the track, and recording all of these incremental times.
It's amazing. You must have, I don't know how much you listen to the station, but that's the number one thing. Female flushers. I mean, that's one of the three things that you have to have. Yep. Because if you can, women don't like, most people don't like porta potties.
I was going to say, not just women.
Yeah, just everybody doesn't like them. But somehow, some way, since drag racing is basically, for our demographic, we're almost like an 80-20 split, 80 men, 20 women. But if you bring if it's okay to bring the girlfriend in, if it's okay to bring the wife in, they look forward to going to drag racing as opposed to, oh man, a porta potty, it's going to be loud, it's going to be hot, it's going to be dusty. You're not going to have that. You're going to have that kind of resistance.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're right. And it's going to be you, Bob, and Al all the time. And then when you go, honey, you want to do something on Saturday, drag racing isn't going to be the first thing out of the mouth. You missed that sector. So now the guy's got to now think, do I kind of not with the girlfriend wife today, or do I do the guys today? She's going to be unhappy. And it shouldn't be that hard for drag racing.
No. Well, and see, we're about 55-45 male female, and I don't know what the national standard is at racetracks across the country. So I think that is a metric that we can look to that says, hey, we have been successful in attracting mom, dad, and the kids to the racetrack. I think having a kids' playground, these things, listen, we are not putting men and women on the moon here. We're just talking about basic amenities. And I said to someone yesterday, the gentleman from South Georgia Motorsports Park came up to me and he said, okay, give me one piece of advice. And I thought, okay. And my piece of advice to him was treat your racetrack like your home, and treat your guests the same way you treat people coming into your home on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. That's simple. We don't call them customers anymore because they're our guest. When you prepare for a wedding, you don't create a customer list, you create a guest list. So when people come into your home, you are going to have clean bathrooms. When people come into your home, you're going to have places for them to park. When people come into your home, they're going to be greeted warmly with hugs and various forms of loving reception. You're going to provide quality food. You're going to provide a place to sit. You're going to provide an environment that is cozy or friendly. The fireplace is going to be on and Christmas music is playing. And so just apply that to your racetrack. It's not that easy, but it's not that hard either.
The funny thing is they go, oh yeah, but that's Norwalk. Norwalk is, we kind of break it down as into majors like college football, majors, mid-majors, and like Division II drag racing. And that's okay. But if you're on the upper echelon and you got all that kind of money they're going to say, then you can throw around and you can have flushers. Because some of these tracks are out in BFE land where they don't have water, stuff like that. How do they come back into again, what we've seen is like, look, if you have, no matter if you have like a Division II racetrack, if it's clean, if it's aesthetically look fine, if your bleachers look like the wood doesn't look like if you weigh 100 pounds, you're going to crack it. If paint is up, it's not peeling, it's not fading, you don't have something that says Winston Cup champion, and you kind of go, or I was going to even say something about their website, but that's different. But as soon as you walk in there, we're fighting, Bill, and I don't know if because you're on the different side, but the same side. We still fight the stereotype of the Don Carlitz 1956 picture of him where he's
Black
like white
and
with greasy all over, and there are all like holes in there, and they're wrenching a 9 big 16ths kind of thing. And people, even in 2023, say, oh, that's drag racing. And it's like, all right, so how do you counter that?
Well, let me back up, because how much does it cost you to be nice? So I don't care if you're a major market. I don't like, and I said this yesterday, I brought this question in. I don't like people to say, well, I'm just a small track. Well, in 1973, we were a small track. In 1973, we were that black and white picture, fence falling down, 800 seats, uneven seat planks, big giant gravel on the east side. Nothing was paved. There was corn growing on the west side. And I can share pictures with you that you're going to go, yep, that's what it was like in the 70s. Well, that's what Norwalk was in the 70s. And my father was an iron worker. We did not come from a family of money. We were very poor. In fact, I wouldn't say we were very poor, but we were lower middle class. And we ate all winter whatever food was left in the concession stand at the end of the race season. You know, I mean, that's true. That's a true story. So here we are in a small market, right? In Norwalk, Ohio, population 12,000. In Huron County, population 50,000. We're 60 miles from Cleveland, 59 miles from Toledo, 119 miles from Columbus. And where is Norwalk? That would have been a fair question in 1973. But we didn't think we were small. We never viewed ourselves as small. And I always tell this story. I'm a huge Vince Lombardi Green Bay Packers fan. And the first time I went to Lambeau Field, we were coming down Vince Lombardi Way. I parked my truck right on the road, got out and looked at Lambeau. And Jayme said, "Get back in the car." I said, Jayme, this is Lambeau Field. You know, our youngest son's senior year, Garrett went to Wake Forest, so we were able to go to the Notre Dame game because Garrett was the Demon Deacon mascot, and he got to run out of the tunnel. So you pull into the parking lot, you go to Notre Dame Stadium, you see Touchdown Jesus in the background, and it's hallowed ground. That's how people view coming to our racetracks, but we don't think that. And we don't believe that, and that's never at the foreground of our thinking. So if we don't think we're a big deal, if we think we're small, if we think we're just a little bracket track or this little hole-in-the-wall place, well, then guess what? That's what you are. So to me, we need to think big. And there is something intrinsic in every market that can make them unique. There's something in, I don't know, somewhere in Tennessee that they have available to them that I don't. There's something available in Pennsylvania that isn't available in Michigan. So there are always things unique to each market, and we need to identify them. But it doesn't cost anything to be nice. It costs virtually nothing to mow your grass or run a weed eater or to hang your fence so it's straight and get some silver paint and a roller and pay somebody to at least make it look silvery and not rusty. We're not talking about building multi-million-dollar capital expenditure projects. We're just talking about basic niceties. My father coined the phrase as creature comfort features. So I don't even, when I look at my facility, I don't even compare myself to other motorsports venues. How do I compare to Disney? How do I compare to Levi Stadium? How do I compare to AT&T Stadium? Well, guess what? I don't fare very well when I compare myself to where the Cowboys play on Sunday, or in Santa Clara where the 49ers play in that multi-billion-dollar venue. That's who we need to compare ourselves to. And there are things that we can do. Service doesn't cost a lot to service to provide outstanding guest service. I make my phone number available. Hundreds of thousands of people have my number. They can call me. They can text me at any time, and I am always happy to listen or try to accommodate. That doesn't cost a lot of money to do that. I've gone to other professional sporting venues, and I have never had the owner's phone number to be able to call or text them to say, hey, I'm up here and everybody around me is drinking and throwing beer around and using profanity. I don't know who the owner of the Browns is. I don't know who the owner of the Green Bay Packers. I don't have them on speed dial. Well, my guests have my number, and that doesn't cost a lot to just make yourself available to listen. We have the Bader family guarantee that says if you ever visit Summit Motorsports Park and are dissatisfied, we'll fix it. And I am going to push that message out harder in 24 than I have in my entire tenure. And I'm going to say, listen, come and visit Summit Motorsports Park, and you can do it risk-free. That's a strong message. we have a community code of conduct that says when you come to Summit Motorsports Park, you're going to act a certain way. I have a one-strike policy for stupid, and if you're behaving, because listen, we're all going to bring our families to the track, right? And we're all excited. The sun is shining. You can smell nitro. You're going to sit down in the grandstands, and there's somebody using profanity or drinking and just ruining the experience. The family's going to get up and leave. They're never going to come back, and they're never going to say, you know what, I went to Norwalk. It was a nice facility, but there was a jerk in the grandstands. What they're going to say is, I was at Summit Motorsports Park. It wasn't a nice experience, and I'm not going back. So I think a lot of what we're talking about requires a lot of work, but not a lot of money.
Do you feel yourself as a throwback? Because if you get to the level of where you're at, a big track, because Norwalk's a big track, I mean, as opposed to others. There's the corporate side would say, yeah, all right, so they had an unfortunate thing. I got there for tickets prices that way. Maybe they'll cool it off. Maybe they'll come back. So this way I don't have to enforce any kind of rules. I don't have to enforce kind of, I got your money. Mm-hmm. And then goodbye. I hope you come back. If you don't come back, you don't come back, but I got your money. What you're talking about right now is kind of like something about where, I mean, obviously, I'd assume this would come from your dad. I mean, we're teaching you, son, this is how you should treat people. But it's normal kind of human nature sense to be cool with folks.
Well, first of all, I do think I'm an old soul. I'm a Christian conservative business owner. I have old world beliefs. I like listening to 78 RPM records. I like jukeboxes. And
welcome to CKiW, iRADIO 76.
I think that the world was better then. I think today's world is more difficult and more challenging, and we're not as kind to one another. We're all in a hurry. We're all stressed. We're all, so somebody pulls in front of you, and what do? We lay on the horn. We yell, as opposed to saying, okay, we're just not kind to each other. And my wife says all the time, Bill, just be kind. So I think old world, traditional, just being kind to people, okay, so yeah, I got their money. A family of 6 came to my racetrack. They left. They'll never come back. That's a tragedy, because what is the value of a lifetime? What is the value of a lifetime guest? If you visit my racetrack for 20 years, and let's say you come to 3 events a year, let's say you bring your wife, or you bring your buddies, or you bring your children, and here's how much you've spent in tickets a year, plus merchandise, plus food, plus all of the goodwill. You are an ambassador for Summit Motorsports Park. You are not a guest, you are an ambassador. And don't kid yourself, an ambassador with a bad experience can do a lot of harm.
It's quick on Facebook.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what is the value of a lifetime guest? Simple question. And so when my father purchased the International Hot Rod Association, left the racetrack, my father was this larger-than-life, gregarious, outgoing man who could walk into a room and just completely change the temperature and the atmosphere. He had that kind of charisma, and I don't necessarily. I'm more of an introverted fellow. I am. Believe it or not, I am more of an introverted guy. So I would rather sit down in the corner of the room and have a meaningful conversation one-on-one than simply work a room. So my philosophy in 1997 was, we are going to win people over one at a time. I'm not going to try to get 1,000. I'm going to try to get 1, and then I'm going to try to get another one, and then I'm going to try to get another one. And that was really my model. We are going to win you over one at a time. How are we going to do that? By treating you well, by putting this unconditional money-back guarantee into play, and by letting you know that you can always reach me to resolve any problem. Simple.
One of the questions we were going to ask you too, and it goes right on line where you're just going right there. When was the first time you realized you were a star?
I'm not a star.
Much. All we have to do, you know how we got this room? It's like we needed a room. Well, we don't really have one. Well, we have Bill Bader here. Oh, we got room 113 open at 11 o'clock. And it was like,
I don't believe that.
Yeah, you know, we're going to go to Chrysler dealerships and get like a Hellcat. And it's like, I would like to get this for $10. We know Bill Bader. There you go. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're going to use this picture for campaigns. Get him.
My role requires me to be out front, and my dad taught me to always lead from the front. So that's how I've built my career. That's how I've earned the mutual respect of my management team and my team members that I work with. But I am not. I'm a member of a team. Of a lot of people who are fully invested in the success or failure of what we do at Summit Motorsports Park. I am not the star. Our team is not the stars. The men and women on the racetrack, they're the stars. And that's our job, to promote them, to create excitement around them. And I just happen to do that with a drag strip as opposed to some other form of entertainment. I will tell you a little secret. I'm not a big car guy, okay?
Breaking news, CKiW Radio 76.
I am big on entertaining people. I am big on everything we do, every decision we make, every dollar we spend, every dollar we don't charge, every dollar we save. Everything we do is 100% driven by how will the guest react, respond, or feel to this decision. I did not raise a ticket price next year. Why? Because I think we still have headwinds. We've got all kinds of challenges. We've got inflation. It's an election year. I am not going to burden my guest, even though my cost is skyrocketing. That is not my guest problem. You know, the fact that I am struggling on the cost side, why should the people that come and visit my racetrack and spend their hard-earned money, why should they bear the burden of that?
Because then you can get a profit. You could have a nice Mercedes and a big 85-foot boat. Thanks, Bill.
I don't have a boat. I don't have a Mercedes. I drive a Ford F-150 truck. And we live in a nice home, and both of our kids graduated from college. So I don't know why you need... I think, you know, while profit is not a dirty word, I kind of think that profiting on your guests is a dirty word. So I guess I feel like, again, getting back to the value of a lifetime guest, and as opposed to that, okay, we're going to make a decision here where we're going to charge $5 more and we're going to have all this windfall. I think that's scary. That's scary business. To just arbitrarily raise prices, to just arbitrarily charge more. You know, we're known for our ice cream. We for 26 years, we sold a pound of ice cream for $1. And it broke even for a few years. Then we would lose a little bit, we'd lose a little bit, we'd lose a little bit more, we'd lose a little bit more. Well, in 2022, we lost $91,000 on our ice cream promotion. Now, keep in mind the timing of that. We're coming out of COVID. We couldn't open in 2020. Prices are skyrocketing. Labor costs are skyrocketing. And this has become a very difficult thing for me to manage. And I don't want to make money on it. I just don't want to lose $100,000 a year. So I labored over this decision for months and months, and I sought counsel, and I did my research, and I thought about going to a smaller quantity for the same price, which infuriates me. When you're paying the same price and you get half the product size, that would be like saying, okay, we're going to leave the price alone for a night under fire, but we're only going to give you half the show, half the fireworks, half the experience, half the service, and I expect you to be okay with that. That sucks. So I said, you know what? We need to right-size this. We went to pints. The reason we went to a pint versus hand-dipped ice cream was because I could move more product out quicker. And it would be served at the proper temperature, as opposed to having that 5-gallon tub of ice cream open, and by the time you get 2/3 down, when you should rotate the tub, we weren't rotating tubs because it's much easier to scoop ice cream when it's 40 degrees than when it's 26 degrees. So we had a product quality problem. So I just bit the bullet. I was very, and listen, when you have to raise a price, just be transparent. Just tell the truth. Don't try to couch it and give people a bunch of fancy speak that they can easily see through as crap. Just tell them the truth, and that's what I did. I said, listen, for 28 years, we've sold this for $1. In 2022, we lost 91 grand. I can no longer continue to absorb that. We're going to go to $3, but here are going to be the improvements. You can buy it now throughout the park. We're going to give it to you in a pint. It's going to be served at the proper temperature. And if that's a problem for anybody, let me know.
I was going to say, would somebody write to you and go, no, Bill?
Oh, yeah, no, they did.
Really?
They did. It wasn't a lot. It was 3 or 4.
3 or 4 out of how many?
Well, we had almost 600,000 people visit the track. But again, remember the core. What was the core objective? We were going to win people over one at a time. So when you start losing people, you can win them over one at a time. You lose them 10 at a time. So. I answered all of those questions. I sent a couple people coupons for ice cream, and we got through it. And hopefully the price can stay that way for the next 28 years.
Well, see, we always admired Mid-Michigan because they did the same thing. If you got little kids, they're famous for it. Their track's a nice track.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes, it is.
And they're the only folks that we know that sell ice cream, and they're known for it. I mean, a track that's known, restaurants are known for it,
yeah.
Ice cream places are known for it, drag racing places. Okay, well, so that hook is fabulous. Mm-hmm. To have somewhere where the kids can run around, because one of the worst things in the world to do is you got fidgety kids and you're here at almost the semis. So you got 4 cars running, 20 minutes. 2 more cars running, 20 minutes. What do we do in the sun? It's a bleacher that's made out of wood from the World War III, or II, I should say, with splinters. There's nothing for little kids to do. Right. I can't bring the kids here. So when you said the thing about, all right, let's do it for the family, you guys have something else to do while we're watching the cars. If you want to watch the cars, it's great. The downtime, Bill, is where we're seeing the reason why, when we talk to folks, why don't you go to a track?
Yep.
Downtime.
Yep, that is our absolute number one enemy, more than weather. I would say downtime, time between rounds, cleanup, seconds per pair, and I am hyper aware of those metrics. We try to run a pair of cars every 45 to 48 seconds. And that is incredibly difficult. That is incredibly difficult in an environment where you have more and more dragsters burning across the starting line, backing up this, you stage first, I'll stage second business. So yes, we focus on seconds per pair. Because we've got to get cars down the racetrack. We've got to do it safely, but we've got to do it efficiently. So seconds per pair ought to be a top-of-mind metric for every racetrack in the country. They ought to know how many seconds per pair they're running. Number 2 is cleanup time. Having the proper equipment and adequate staff to attack a cleanup in a train-type fashion, as opposed to a guy runs down with a spreader and he spreads powder, and then he comes back, and then they send the next person down to broom, and then he comes back, and then the next person goes down. That can all be done in one system. Spreading, brooming, cleaning up in a train fashion, going down the racetrack. Again, downtime. You should be able to clean up an oil down in, depending on severity, 20 minutes on average, 25 minutes on average. and then you got to get back to racing, and then you got to pick up the pace. So there are certain classes we can run quicker than 45 to 48 seconds a pair. Super Pro is a slow class to run. Superbike is a slower class to run. Juniors can take forever to run. So you've got to comfortably crowd people to get them going. And once they're trained that way, then they're like, come on, let's go. I mean, we average 75 juniors, and I start them at 8:30, and that program's done by noon, because I've got to run an adult program at noon that we start at 6. And I'm not, listen, there's a difference between running efficiently and herding cattle. I am not herding cattle. I am simply trying to run an efficient program to hold people's attention. And actually, several years ago, and I'm disappointed in myself that I haven't created this yet, is drag racing needs a shot clock. Drag racing needs a shot clock. So when the pair leaves the line, the clock starts, the next pair need to stage, because staging has become so nonsensical in my mind. It's a game, it's a head game, and get in, let the tree drop, run your race. But the games that are played at the starting line, again, we're talking about downtime, we're talking about delays. These are all things that we look at.
Which games are you talking about specifically?
From a staging game perspective, this kind of unwritten rule that the fast car always stages second. So the quicker car stages second, so the slower car says, you know what, I'm going to get in this guy's head, I'm not going to stage. And then you have, on a Saturday points race, right, you've got a burn down in Super Pro or a burn down in Pro. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. With a shot clock, that eliminates all that. So that's one example. There are other different things that guys going in very shallow, cranking their wheel, turning on the stage bulb for 0.6 of a second to start auto start. All kinds of goofy things that go on in our sport.
I mean, do you walk the track and go, that could be changed? Shot clock, yeah, that's cool. Do you have like a pad, a paper, like stuck on you at all times? And all these, because we're envisioning your place has all kinds of sticky notes, all kinds of wonderful places, whether they be real or they're all stuck in your head.
Well, when I was younger, they could all be stuck in my head. As I've gotten older, I've learned that I have to make notes. But I have a punch list right now of 8.5 pages of everything that is wrong with my facility. There have been times that I didn't want to drive on the perimeter of my property on 18 and 601 because it disgusted me.
What would disgust you so much that you wouldn't go in?
Fence that needs to be replaced. It's tied and it's straight, but we have green vinyl on the perimeter, and some of the green vinyl over time with salt trucks kicking up when they're plowing, the vinyl has worn off, or the vinyl is faded, or a couple of posts have been crimped from motorhomes getting too close when they pull in and they nose into the fence, or when we mow the grass too close in the ditch and we kind of scalp some of the grass. That infuriates me. Park services, if it's not neat and tidy, or we have barrels out, or we have tires laying out, or we have listen, I have a problem.
I was going to say, is it tough to work for you?
It's tough to work for me, and it's tough to be me. Because I will walk in in fact, I'm a runner, and I used to run at the racetrack, and I stopped in the wintertime because I could carve out, it's 2 miles around the perimeter of the racetrack. We're a 300-acre facility. And I stopped running there because I would get disgusted at all the stuff I saw when I would go on a run. So, when your facility looks completely different, when there's a backdrop of white behind it, as opposed to green or brown or the dead of summer. So, yeah, it's. I think if you asked anybody, they would tell you that I'm difficult.
How's your house like?
What?
How's your house like? I mean, you go, wait a minute, there's a crack in the wall there. That's got to go. Wait, there's a thread on that chair. That's got to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I am, meticulous about everything. And the problem is I want my drywall in my closet finished to the same level as it is in my great room. I want my trim cut and fitted the same way. I'm paying the same hourly rate, and the fact that it's in there and not looking correctly will drive me nuts.
What drives you nuts at your house?
Pardon?
I mean, do you take a look at your lawn and go,
oh, yeah.
damn it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I see everything. I'm looking in this room that we're sitting in, and I'm looking at how this room has worn over the years and why receptacles can't be straight on the wall and square and plumb. And so my father taught me, we used to walk around the facility, and he would say, Bill, don't look at things that are right. Only look at things that are wrong. Because the right is expected. So look for what's wrong. And so that's what I have been. I started working with my dad when I was 10 years old. And I just completed my 46th year. So my lens is always looking for how can we be better.
How tough would it be to be your wife?
Well, we've been married 33 years, but I think it's probably very difficult. I think anybody who knows my wife, Jayme, would say that she is a saint. Because I'm very difficult.
And she never said to you, look, dude, drop some ice,
yes, but no. I'm always afraid that we're going to lose what we built. And so the only way to ensure that doesn't happen is to never turn it off. Because complacency is a terrible, terrible thing. And the day I wake up and say, you know what, it's good enough, is the beginning of the end.
Wow. So, I mean, how do you put this in park? How do you, when you go, there's no season, nothing, but people are under the misconception, when you're not drag racing, then you just like padlock the doors, we'll see you guys in April, see ya. I mean, your whole mind is like you can be on a beach somewhere. How do you get away? That's a lot of stress on you, Bill. How do you put it in park?
I think if you asked my wife, she would say I don't. Or
you don't? You're this intense 24/7?
Pretty much.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
I'm always just on the edge, probably, is the best way. Now, I as I've gotten older, I've learned to manage that a little better. But I think being very honest, all the time.
So are you a thrower, or do you go silent, or do you yell?
I'm a yeller, I'm a thrower, I've really worked at trying to control that. I don't ever attack people, I attack situations. I attack when I feel we have failed to deliver something, or I feel that we have shortchanged our guest, or I feel that we should be better. We just need to be better. And so I get frustrated. You know what? We are human beings. We make mistakes. That is not what frustrates me. What frustrates me is a failure due to laziness, or a failure due to a lack of preparation, or a failure due to, Bill, I meant to get to that and didn't. That stuff drives me crazy. Those are self-inflicted wounds. And those are things that are inexcusable acts.
Can you go on a vacation?
I can.
A real one, no phone, nobody can get a hold of me. It's just me and the wife and the kids. We're out. Peace.
Wherever I go, I'm always looking for things. I'm looking for. We would go to Disney, and that to me was like, okay, this is going to be a class. This is class time. Look at how they do this. I take pictures of this. I note that. Everywhere we go, we are always looking to improve. Here at the PRI Show, they have floor signs that everybody's walking on, and I thought, I wonder if is there an application for that at the racetrack? Not necessarily for marketing, but just to help guide people. Arrows guiding people to where the top fuel pit area is, or guiding people to where the bathrooms are. I'm always looking for how to be better.
Because I was trying to think, even when you're going to Disney, you're taking notes.
Absolutely.
Everybody else is on the Wild Tea ride, and you got a sketchbook going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's like, is there somewhere where you just say, look, I've had it, I'm taking a week, let's go? Is there that one place where you say, I got to go to a cabin, I got to go to Florida, I got to go to Disney? Is there that one place that is your timeout, it's like, I'm going to regroup, and then I'll get back?
No, I'm probably not good at that.
Really?
Yeah.
Then what do you say, honey, we want to go on vacation, pick somewhere? Pick somewhere that I can take notes?
No, because you can learn anywhere. We one Christmas, it was, on Christmas Day it was 70 degrees, and that seemed terribly unnatural to me. We used to always, when we went on vacation, we would cold weather vacation, and then as we've gotten older, we probably gravitate more toward warmer climates, but we discovered Petoskey, Michigan.
Great place.
I love Petoskey and Charlevoix and Harbor Springs, and that whole little area is fabulous. So we took the kids and we went to Petoskey, and so we have kind of impromptu trips and things like that, but I don't. If what you're asking me is, do you ever just shut it off? No, it never gets shut off.
You go to Petoskey, can you do karaoke?
Nobody would want to hear me do karaoke. I'm pretty sure of that. But my form of entertainment is entertaining people at my racetrack, and nobody wants to hear me sing. I just, that's part of the old soul thing, because I feel like my father and my grandfather, back then you were kind of defined by your work, right?
Yeah.
That's what defined you. And now there's this crazy work-life balance nonsense thing that I don't adopt or believe in. There's probably some truth to it, but I'm 56.
Ever do a Zoom meeting?
Hate them. I would much rather sit down. There are so many things that are missed. It's no wonder that we don't communicate as well as we used to, because now our forms of communication are text messages and emails. We don't sit down with one another and communicate. We have lost the art of being able to read body language. We've lost the art of being able to be compassionate. There's no compassion required when you're sending a text. In our attempt to be expedient and deliver chunks of information, we've dispensed with, you texted me this morning and you prefaced your text by good morning. I responded with a thumbs up, and then I sent you a text that said good morning. So I think, and it's very dangerous, this kind of isolationist style of community now, right? Where people are working remotely and we're communicating in little chunks of information. What's going to happen, my theory is, we're going to go back to becoming knuckle-dragging Neanderthals, where we're grunting and carving out images on cave walls, which is what we do now with emojis.
Yeah. This is my one-size-fits-all smiley face.
Yes.
No,
yep.
That's one. I don't know if maybe you read the CK's manifest, but that's exactly. If you can call instead of text, call.
Yep.
Because do you love this when I text this? It's either whatever my brain interprets it to be.
Yep.
Do you love this? Do you love this?
Yep.
We don't know what that is. I don't
Yep.
know what your inflection is. I don't know where you're going with it. And so many things could be misinterpreted.
Oh.
And it's like, how lazy are you not to call? The inner voice is, it's always good to hear somebody,
Yep.
as opposed to, well, I'll just do this Texting was like when you were in the hospital and the doctor was going into your shoulder and you could not talk. That's what texting was all about. I understand it's the way of the world now, and you kind of feel like getting out of those Beatles, kind of things. But we frown on, don't text us, don't Zoom us. We don't even like doing if we're going to do interviews, we go to you. We don't do it over the cameras. We don't do it over the phones because you lose it. I have that piece of glass in front of you, Bill, and then that stops the human interaction. And it's not to say that's the best way to go, but if two people are talking, that is the only way to do something. As opposed to the other way. And then we were talking about before yesterday, to be quickly, and somebody said, well, how do you market? And some guy raised his hand and goes, well, we have a flyer. And it's like, I wanted to stand up, and it was like, I didn't even need the mic, dude. Just hold the mic over there. I'm loud enough in that room. It's like, the one thing that when we started CK, and our kick line is we're the only station that gives a damn about the greatest sport, and that's drag racing. It's that the marketing has been so bad for drag racing, and for the people who think that they have, like a track will have a Facebook page, and they will announce their time there. Now, how many people remember Saturday?
Oh, yeah.
We do that on CK. We brought that all back from all the tracks that we go to. We give that service for free. Only because if you're going to be telling me that this Friday you're running bracket on Bob's drag strip, you already have Bob's Market. How are you going to grow? So many people, no, Sunday, who's never been to a drag strip, they haven't had those things on a top 40 AM station since mid-70s, yet you still remember it because they put it in your head. Every time you hear Sunday, you don't think baseball. You don't think it's football. You know it's a drag racing thing. It's something coming up at Detroit Dragway, simply at Texas weekend, and talk as fast as you can. We have seen a terrible fall down on marketing. If you can't get the people in the stand, if you get people in the stands, it's free money. That's more money that goes in the pot. That's more for the racers. Everybody benefits. And when we've seen it from any RA, whether it be NE or NHRA or IHRA or WDRA, it's like, what are you guys doing for real marketing? Not for people you have already. If you know who Sox and Martin is, you're not people that we know, that we want. We got to get, and people are saying, well, we'll get them in junior dragsters and come up. How many people play Pop Warner football and then go on to the pros?
Right.
And so we're kind of going, and then you have that fight of, do we sit around and wait for juniors? That whole thing about the go-go power wheels, electric wheels and stuff, it just gets, there was a huge fight up north. There was one track ran them, and it was like, we'll never come to this thing again. It's cool for mom and dad and all that stuff. But we've never seen, like, the NHRA push sportsmen. Whenever you see their TV shows, it's Smoke and Noise, Top Fuel, Funny Car, and somebody else. That's it. The rest of you people don't exist. And that was when NHRA came to Michigan, and they were saying, God, we really don't want you guys as racers because you don't look at us. Somehow, some way, we're third class. And even then, you don't tell the people, hey, we're having this great race at our place. It's just like, and the gentleman was saying yesterday, and the wonderful thing that you were countering them, because they were saying, well, we have bracket on Saturday, and you were saying, we're an entertainment business. Right. How do we get, we're going up against movies, people at home, people who can do all kinds of fun things on their computers, on their phones. How do we get them to drive all the way to our places? Right. And they're not necessarily next to a mall, except for now in some of the places, Yeah. And then all of a sudden we want, your drag strips have been there since '56? Yeah, we want to build some condos here. You got to go,
Yep.
However, how do you market? How do you tell these guys, if they came to you, all drag racing came to Bill and said, how do we market? Give us some ideas. What would you tell them?
I think I would probably start what I did. In 1973, when my father bought the racetrack, it was very much it very much looked and acted like what you would expect tracks in the 70s to look and smell and feel, the texture of the 1970s drag racing. I started there in 1977. I graduated from high school in 1986. I went to college. I have a degree in accounting and corporate finance. I decided to come back and get involved in
You have a degree in corporate finance, and you're losing $100,000 on ice cream?
Yeah, see? I mean...
How fast did you go to Petoskey?
Yeah. So I decided to get back in the family business, and there were a lot of things I didn't like about our sport. I didn't like using half-dressed women to market our sport. I didn't like that. I didn't like that we were still doing fox hunts and girls in free and beer chugs and grease pole pillow fighting contests and all of the stuff that was the kind of seedy underbelly of what drag racing was and what it was known for. I got rid of all of that stuff. I was vehemently opposed to it. We started to phase it out. And the second thing I did is I started raising our ticket prices because I didn't like the makeup of our fan base. I didn't want this rough and tumble, fighting, verbally abusive, swearing, drunken sailor guy in my home. So we had an event in the spring that we used to give out free tickets, and we had fights, and we had domestics, and we had all these things, and I stopped doing that. And I crafted the demographic of what I wanted at my racetrack. And I wanted mom, dad, and the kids. I wanted middle-class America. I wanted what you would see if you would go to a Major League Baseball game. Not necessarily what you would see in Old Municipal Stadium in the dog pound. So
there may be a Detroit translation there for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, the first step was to define where you were going. Okay. So in the old days, we used to buy radio, right? We'd buy a flight of 28 spots on WMMS in Cleveland, WIOT in Toledo. They were backloaded. They started on Friday and they started on Monday and ended on Saturday at noon. That's how you took an event to market in the old days. And now we're multiple channel marketers, right? We've got 15 or 20 different ways to spread the word. But before you ever get to that point, what are you? What are you today, and what do you want to be? So before we ever get into the marketing toolbox, I would ask any track. I have a consulting business. It's called Energize, and the first thing I will do is kind of a SWOT analysis, right? Very rudimentary, but it works incredibly well. And that's what I did. I ran Maple Grove in 2018, and I very quickly took an assessment of who we were and who we wanted to be, and put the wheels in motion of creating that transition. You could be the greatest marketer in the world. So let's say you've got track ABC. They're located in, I don't know, Virginia. And this track in Virginia, it's been in business for 40 years, and they hire me and they say, Bill, we want to replicate the Night Under Fire, and can you help us do that? And I would say, yeah, I can certainly help you do that. And it's a 10,000 seat venue. The event comes, it's beautiful, the sun is shining, and we put 15,000 people in there, right? By all accounts, a success. The event is a six-figure netting event. Everybody's clamoring, they all want more, and it's like, when are you going to do this again? Well, okay, so we did that. But what is the culture at your racetrack? More specifically, how were your guests treated by your, I call them team members, employees in a traditional sense, though I hate employee-employer stuff. I hate it. I cringe. Because we're a team. So you just brought 15,000 people to your racetrack. What was the parking experience like? What was ingress and egress like? How were your fans received by the parkers? How were your fans received by your ticket sellers? You know, what was your food court like? What was the quality of food? What was the bathroom experience? What kind of PA system do you have? Was everybody even able to hear the show or hear the announcer, or was the PA so bad that you couldn't hear anything? So I think the point is, yeah, we could. I know how to successfully take events to market, but that's step number 50. We've got 49 previous steps or prior steps that we need to evaluate, starting with what are you today and what do you want to be tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, when you say that too, because there's, and God love you, because we always talk about the last thing that they think about at any track is the sound system. Mm-hmm. You know, because they're these old steel bullhorns from 1961, some kind of Duquesne thing, and that's what you hear. Yep. And then vroom and done. I think what they've done is a very poor way, in order to grow the fan base. What is a radial race? What is a 640 mountain race? Mm-hmm. There was, back in the day, and God help us for doing that, it was like, here's your top fuel, here's your funny car, here's your pro stock, here's your super stock, and here's whatever. We could understand that. You know, now it's almost trying to tell somebody who doesn't know football, here's what a Tampa 2 is, here's what a nickel is, here's what a dime package is. You can't enjoy that. If we can like just tell folks, look, this is what drag radial class is all about. Now you feel a part of it. It's like people who gamble. Well, we're going to put a 3-way parlay on that one stack, and you hear it on sports radio all the time, and it drives me nuts for those people who don't want to participate in gambling. You know, you're forced onto that, and you somehow felt like, well, gee, I should know something about gambling, but I don't, and they don't. We're not going to tell you what it's all about because it makes us exclusive. You know, I wish that more tracks would do that, but honest to God, if we can't hear what's going on, if your family can't understand what the difference is with the race or whatever the announcer, and please, for God's sake, get a good announcer. Yeah. I mean, not necessarily Norwalk, but we've heard some that we don't know if that morning they just became embalmed, you know, because, and lane 2, black Camaro. Yep. There they go. 945 Tower side. What I mean, we've seen some announcers that are outstanding, that get people into it and enjoyable and all that stuff. They're fabulous. You know, we love working with people like that because we go into drag racing, you know, into venues, plug it in for free. You know, the first 2 times we go to any racetrack, we're going to send up all of our 74 countries. They're going to hear all around the world your track, your announcer, and when we bring the videos with it, same thing. We're giving it to you because we're trying to build a sport. Because it's a wonderful sport, and there's somehow, some way, there's a resistance. Have you ever had something, Bill, where you thought, this is going to be a great idea? People are going to love this idea. And then you go, what do you think, folks? And it's like this gun that goes bang. Yep. You know, I mean, what was the biggest thing that you thought, oh, this is a can't miss?
2 years ago, we held a tractor pull at our racetrack. And
with the dirt?
With the clay. 420 feet of clay that was 18 or 19 inches thick. And,
did you run this past your wife and go, honey, I got this great idea?
My dad was still alive, and I ran it by everybody, and I was so enamored with this idea that we launched the World Series of Pulling, and it was not good. We had a fair turnout on Thursday and Friday. Saturday we had 2 1/4 inches of rain.
In clay. On asphalt.
On concrete.
On concrete.
And a man-made track that had just been built on Monday and Tuesday, and here we are 96 hours later with 2 1/4 inches of rain. So that was financially, that was not successful. In terms of education and learning and kind of a reality check for me, it was like getting another MBA. Because I learned a lot of things And I know why the event failed. I think about it frequently. I will revisit my failures often. Because I'm always looking. You can learn as much or more from a failure, and I would tell you that lessons learned in failure are probably greater than lessons learned in success, because success is jubilant and fun and feels good and euphoric. Failures are painful. And I think we have a tendency, at least in my case, I reflect on pain differently than I reflect. Joy is great, we did our job. That's how we drew it up. Pain is failure, and pain is like the end of the world. So I learned a lot in the World Series of Pulling, and I think if I brought that event back again, I could be more successful doing it. And someday I will. I saw the director of the PPL and shook his hand, so yeah, the World Series of Pulling did not fare well. The inaugural World Series of Pulling, but there will be an opportunity down the road at Redemption, and that's the thing that drives me crazy. When we deliver a bad performance, when we deliver a bad show, let's say it's the Cavalcade of Stars or the Blue Suede Cruise, I have to wait an entire year at Redemption. It's not like we're going to run the Blue Suede Cruise next month. So we have a Blue Suede Cruise. It's the end of July. The event didn't go well. We didn't perform at a level that we should have, and I've got to wait 51 weeks at redeeming ourselves, and that's the part that sucks.
Bill, do you think when something goes a little bit haywire at the track that everyone's going, well, I mean, they're looking at you.
That's what I'm doing.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I hate failing. I hate it. And that's, I think, probably, I have several friends that I have, there is one common thread, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but generally ultra-successful people are insecure and have a mortal fear of failure, because it's all going to end one day. And it is. It's all going to end. I mean, the reality, I don't know when, but it will all come to an end. So you can't ever take your foot off the gas.
Amazing. We're just getting started, and the hour has already passed by.
Has it?
Will you come back again, Bill?
I absolutely will come back again.
Unbelievable. Our absolute pleasure. It was perhaps, I almost feel like Ed Sullivan. One of the most nicer people we've ever had on our show. Bill Bader, I mean, Junior. When are they going to drop the? I mean, I understand it, but I mean,
I think my dad is always.
Oh, it's going to be seen. I mean, no matter what you
present. So I've been Billy or Bill Junior my whole life, and I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, because it's like, don't you get past the age of 12, and you're kind of like.
I still have people that call me Billy, because remember, I've been in this business segment for 46 years of my life, so I'm okay with that.
Wow. I mean, is there anything else, real quick? Anything else, if drag strip said, bye-bye, we're not going to have this anymore, we're going to put condos here, what else would you do?
What else would I do?
Yeah, what did you say? Look, I'm going to open up something. I've always been thinking, I've always been doing things all my life. I don't think I can have, I mean, can you retire? Can you sit on a rocking chair?
No. That's
even if it's asking?
No, I think retirement is a countdown to death. So,
God bless you.
I think, I've talked about going back to and getting my law degree. I've thought about taking my Energize business and just opening up a small shop and doing everything pro bono. There are so many good ideas in the world, and people just don't know what to do with them. Yeah. There's another paperclip, there's another sticky note, there's another Kleenex, there's another this or that. There's good ideas that are created every day, but they never get put in an incubator because people don't have the financial wherewithal or know where to go. Right. So if that day comes that the track sells, or I'm no longer involved in the track, that would, and I told my wife on the way here, I thought, it'd be fun to be a carpenter. where I could become an apprentice carpenter and learn how to become a. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do because I probably don't see myself doing anything else really other than this. I'm in good health. We're having fun. We're successful. There's all kinds of mountains to conquer. I wish our sport, as a sport, I feel like we're in the infancy phase of our product life cycle. And we are defying growth because we're not better at what we do. We need to be better. And as long as we are stuck where we are, we will never realize our potential on the American sports landscape. So we've just got to be better. And it starts with servicing people, being kind to people, treating people the way you would treat them in your home. And keep in mind, we're not the NFL, we're not Major League Baseball, we're not the NBA. We don't win by default. There aren't, when you talked about the 4 people who you got their money and they're never coming back, in the NFL, there are people lining up to buy tickets. And there are people behind people. I'm on the waiting list to become a season ticket holder with the Green Bay Packers, and I'm number 16,000 and something now. And I've been on that list for 20 years, so it's not going to happen. But in drag racing, there aren't people climbing on top of people, waiting in deep lines to come to our events. So why do we operate so arrogantly that we're doing a good job? We're not. When we can be arrogant when there are 20,000 people waiting to come to the Night Under Fire, a waiting list of 20,000 people. That's when we've made it. Until that time, we have to be better.
Yeah, because really they have, like in the very beginning, they have, oh, look, the Spring Nationals, they sold out. Our sport is healthy. Yeah, wait 2 weeks. Yeah. I mean, the first day of opening season for the Tigers, place is packed. Yeah. The game right afterward, hello. And it's like, look, guys, don't have the false narrative about this, because everyone trots out the pictures from 1968. Look at how packed it was. Look at all these cars. It's not back 1968. That's right. Now you have to. Now you've lost for generations. It's kind of like car companies. You had some really cool cars, then the 80s, and then nobody bought cars, and then it's like, well, now we got kids that are going to try to get their licenses back. Maybe, but man, drag racing's got a long way to come back to get the folks back, and people like Bill Bader are the type of people, Junior, are getting it back. So are we. So thank you so very much for being with the only station that gives a damn about the greatest sport on earth, and that's drag racing. Welcome to CKiW Radio 76.